My dog barked at a burning boat, and it changed everything, Sheriff Caleb Landry whispered under Bayou La Rose's cypress shade. In a Louisiana town where Zydeco hums and gumbo simmers, a widowed sheriff faced a chilling truth. Caleb, haunted by his wife Clara's murder, found a guide in his K9, Bo, whose loyalty unveiled the Bayou Harvest Network, a trafficking ring tied to his past. From storm-soaked rescues to warehouse ambushes, Caleb's courage, Bo's trust, and a stray named Bo forged a path to justice, uniting La Rose under lantern light. Can one man and his dog heal a town's wounds and expose a hidden empire? Share your thoughts in the comments. Would you trust a dog's warning? Subscribe for stories that stir the soul, and join us now in Bayou La Rose, where truth rises from the cypress mist, calling us home under a starlit sky.
The Dog Stories 4.0.
Bo's barking like the devils on that boat. Adele, and I'm diving in. Sheriff Caleb Landry shouted into his phone, his voice nearly drowned by the howling August storm that lashed Bayou La Rose, Louisiana, in 2025. Rain sheeted across the patrol truck's windshield, the bayou's cypress trees thrashing like ghosts in the wind, their Spanish moss trailing like tattered veils. Lightning cracked, illuminating the muddy waters where a fishing boat listed, flames licking its hull despite the deluge. Caleb, 42, gripped the wheel, his hazel eyes sharp under a sheriff's cap, his lean frame taut in a khaki uniform, badge glinting through the downpour. The Bronze Street Christopher Medal, a gift from his late wife, Clara, swung at his throat, a tether to the faith he'd lost when her car plunged into the bayou 3 years ago. In the back seat, his son, Eli, 9, clutched a sketchbook, his green eyes wide, curly black hair spilling from a baseball cap. Beside Eli, Boudreaux, Bo, their 5-year-old German Shepherd K9, barked furiously, his black and tan coat bristling, golden eyes blazing, notched ear rigid, harness jingling like a war drum. Caleb's calloused hands, scarred from military tours, steadied the truck as he swerved onto the bayou's bank, his heart pounding from Bo's relentless alarm. The dog, trained first for combat, then as Eli's therapy companion, never barked without cause. They'd been driving home from Eli's therapy session where the boy, mute since Clara's death, had drawn her for the first time, a breakthrough now eclipsed by the storm's chaos. Caleb, new to La Rose after moving to his ancestral town to escape Atlanta's ghosts, felt the weight of his sheriff's badge, a role he'd taken to honor Clara's roots. "Stay put, Eli," he ordered, glancing at his son's pale, freckled face in the rearview mirror. Eli nodded, sketching furiously, Bo's barks echoing in the cab as Caleb grabbed his flashlight and plunged into the rain. The bayou's current churned, cypress roots clawing the banks like ancient hands, the air thick with mud and ozone. Caleb waded knee-deep, rain blinding him, as Bo's barks guided him to the boat, its hull splintered, flames hissing against the storm. The stench hit him, gasoline, alcohol, and through the smoke, Caleb saw a slumped man, bloodied, lifeless. Then a glint, chains binding a boy, 12 or 13, curled beside the corpse, his blonde hair matted, blue eyes wide with terror, wrists raw under metal. "I'm Sheriff Landry," Caleb yelled, prying the boat's hatch, his boots slipping. "I'm getting you out." The boy's mouth opened, silent, as Caleb smashed the lock with his flashlight, the chains clinking free. He hauled the boy light as a ghost through the water, flames leaping higher, the boat groaning as it sank. Back at the truck, Caleb wrapped the boy in an emergency blanket, Eli's sketchbook open to a drawing labeled Noah, the boy's face captured in pencil. Caleb radioed dispatch, voice steady despite his racing pulse. Ambulance to Bayou Road, mile marker 17. Juvenile male, possible trafficking victim, 1 DOA. Bo sat vigil, his golden eyes locked on the boy, tail still, notched ear twitching, as if sensing a deeper threat. Caleb called Adele, his sister in Baton Rouge, her voice crackling. "Check, Bo. Caleb." He's stressed. But Caleb's gaze fell on his badge, Bo's nose flaring at it, stirring unease. "It's more than stress, Adele," he said, his hazel eyes narrowing. "Something's wrong here." At Bayou LaRose Medical Center, fluorescent lights buzzed over the waiting room, the scent of antiseptic mingling with gumbo from a nurse's lunch. Dr. Marie Boudreau, auburn hair in a ponytail, examined Noah, her brown eyes grave as she whispered to Caleb, "Malnutrition, burns, a tattoo, 427 behind his ear. This boy's been through hell." Noah, shivering under a blanket, stared blankly, his blue eyes haunted, hands trembling. Eli sat nearby, sketching Noah with Bo, his green eyes soft, offering the drawing. Noah clutched it, a flicker of trust crossing his face, but he didn't speak. Mayor Julian Arsenault swept in, his silver hair slicked under a fedora, gray eyes cold behind a politician's smile, gold pocket watch glinting. "Sheriff, state services should take the boy," he said, his Cajun drawl smooth but sharp. "You're new here, Landry. Don't overstep." Caleb's jaw tightened, Arsenault's urgency echoing the military brass who dismissed his instincts overseas. "He stays with me until we know more," Caleb said, his badge heavy, feeling LaRose's scrutiny like a bayou fog. Caleb had come to LaRose to rebuild, to raise Eli in Clara's ancestral town, where Zydeco drifted from face-doo-doo dances and cornbread steamed at suppers. He'd left Atlanta's chaos. Clara's accident ruled a break failure, but suspicious in its timing, hoping the bayou's cypress shade would heal them. But Noah's chains, Bo's focus on his badge, Arsenault's pressure, they were a reckoning, pulling Caleb into a mystery tied to Clara's past. Her research into adoption fraud, cut short by her death, flickered in his mind, a whisper he couldn't ignore. The town's whispers, Landry's stirring trouble, outsider sheriff stung, their trust fragile, like the Saturday market's chatter over gumbo pots. Yet Eli's drawing, Noah's grip on it, and Bo's steady gaze fueled Caleb's resolve, his military instincts humming. Deputy Remy LeBlanc arrived, his dark eyes cautious, wedding ring glinting as he took Caleb's statement. Mayor's pushed in hard. "Caleb," Remy muttered, his drawl thick. "Folkry talkin' dot." Caleb nodded, his streak Christopher metal cool against his skin, Bo's harness jingling as he sat by Noah. Adele called again. "Bo's tellin' you something. Caleb, listen." Caleb's fingers brushed his badge, Bo's golden eyes flicking to it, a low whine escaping. In his duty bag, Caleb found a folded note slipped inside. "You don't know the truth." His pulse surged, the words a bayou whisper, the storm's Zydeco rhythm fading in memory. He'd come to LaRose for peace, but Bo's bark, Noah's chains, the note, they were a call to fight, a truth buried in the bayou's depths. The climax roared as Caleb stood in the hospital corridor, the note in his pocket, his badge heavy, rain still dripping from his cap. He clutched Eli's sketchbook, his hazel eyes burning, tears pricking as he looked at Noah, shivering but alive, and Bo, his notched ear lifting, tail thumping once, a vow of loyalty. "All right, Bo," Caleb whispered, his voice firm, resolve igniting like a face-doo-doo fire. "Show me the truth." Bo rose, his black and tan coat gleaming, golden eyes a beacon in the fluorescent haze, padding toward the exit, glancing back. Caleb followed, Eli's hand in his, Noah's drawing tucked close, the bayou's cypress shadows calling, the church bells tolling a hymn of justice, promising a truth that would shake LaRose to its soul. The August dusk settled over Bayou LaRose, Louisiana, in 2025, painting the cypress-lined bayou in hues of amber and indigo, the Spanish moss swaying like whispers in the humid breeze. The creek gurgled through the sugarcane fields, its waters catching the last glimmers of sunlight, while Zydeco fiddles drifted from a distant face-doo-doo, mingling with the soft toll of church bells from the clapboard chapel. Caleb Landry sat on the sagging porch of his clapboard house, his sheriff's cap tilted back, auburn hair damp with sweat, his hazel eyes tracing the bayou's misty horizon. His khaki uniform, badge still pinned, clung to his lean frame, dusted with red clay from the storm-soaked rescue that had shaken him to his core. The Bronze Street Christopher medal, a memento from his late wife, Clara, rested heavy against his chest, a faint anchor to the faith he'd lost when her car sank into these same waters 3 years ago. Boudreaux, Beau, his 5-year-old German Shepherd K9, lay at his feet, black and tan coat glossy, notched ear still, golden eyes flicking to Caleb's badge, a quiet sentinel after barking them to a sinking boat where a chained boy, Noah, had been pulled from flames. Caleb's calloused hands, scarred from military tours, gripped the folded note he'd found in his duty bag at the hospital. "You don't know the truth." The words, scrawled in jagged ink, burned in his mind, entwined with Beau's relentless barking, Noah's raw wrists, and the dead man's alcohol-soaked corpse. His heart, bruised by Clara's death and the silence of his son, Eli, thudded with fear and resolve. The rescue had cracked Bayou La Rosa's calm, whispers snaking through the Saturday market's gumbo stalls and the shrimp shack's chatter, Landry stirring trouble. That boy's bad news. Each rumor was a thorn, piercing the hope Caleb had nursed since moving here from Atlanta, seeking to raise Eli, 9, in Clara's ancestral town, where cornbread suppers and Zydeco dances promised healing. Now, sitting under the porch's tin roof, the bayous hum a restless hymn, Caleb felt like a stranger, the notes warning a shadow he couldn't shake. Noah, the boy they'd named after Eli's sketch, rested at the hospital, his blue eyes haunted, body marked by burns and a 427 tattoo behind his ear, signs of a horror Caleb's military instincts couldn't ignore. Eli, mute since Clara's crash, had stayed close, his green eyes soft, sketching Noah with Beau, offering the drawing as a silent vow. Caleb's phone buzzed, Adele's name lighting the screen. His sister, a teacher in Baton Rouge, had urged him to trust Beau after the rescue. "Caleb, Beau's not barkin' for nothin'," she said, her Cajun drawl firm. "Dig deeper." Caleb's throat tightened, his hazel eyes glistening as he glanced at Beau, whose tail thumped once, a quiet promise. Adele's words stirred memories of Clara, her late-night research into adoption fraud, her whispered fears of big money in La Rose, her accident that felt too neat. Caleb had buried those doubts, blaming his grief for their rift, but Beau's focus on his badge, the note, Adele's call, they were pulling him into a past he'd tried to flee. The town's whispers grew sharper by noon, filtering through Evelyn Trahan's cafe, where she served coffee, her gray braids swinging as she deflected gossip about Caleb. At the market, vendors eyed his cruiser warily, their smiles tight. Even Deputy Remy LeBlanc, his friend, kept his distance at the station, his dark eyes cautious, wedding ring glinting as he mumbled about reports. Mayor Julian Arsenault's office loomed, his silver hair glinting, gray eyes cold as he leaned on his cane. "Relinquish the boy, Landry," he said, his drawl like a blade. "State services will handle it. Don't make waves." Caleb nodded, his badge heavy, but Arsenault's urgency, more threat than advice, echoed the note, twisting fear into defiance. Alone on the porch, Caleb's fingers traced the Street Christopher medal, its bronze cool against his racing pulse. Recent oddities static on his radio, a locked file labeled Landry at the station, dropped calls on patrol, swirled in his mind, each a puzzle piece. He opened his laptop, starting an anonymous blog, Bayou Whispers, his words raw. Beau barked for a reason. What's La Rose hiding? He hesitated, heart pounding, the bayou's Zydeco fading, then posted, the creeks murmur a distant comfort. Hours later, a comment appeared, cryptic and chilling. Check the shrimp shack dock. His breath caught, the words a hook, pulling him toward a truth he both craved and feared. Caleb's fear mingled with the fire kindled by Clara's memory, her green eyes, her notepad scrawled with adoption data, her belief in justice. He'd come to LaRose to escape her shadow, but Beau's barking was a call to step into it, to face the town's doubts and his own. He clipped Beau's leash, the harness jingling, golden eyes bright with purpose. The shrimp shack dock, where Clara had loved to fish, was a place of whispered deals, its pilings slick with bayou moss. Caleb's boots crunched gravel as he drove there at dusk, cypress shadows lengthening, church bells silent, the air thick with shrimp and tension. Beau sat alert, notched ear twitching, tail low, sensing what Caleb couldn't. At the dock, the shack's neon flickered, Zydeco pulsing from within. Beau sniffed intently, nose leading to a rusted barrel where a USB drive lay, taped tight. A figure emerged, Jules Fontenot, a nervous station tech, his eyes darting, sweat beading in the humid night. "Caleb, you weren't meant to find this," he stammered. "It's about Clara, about Bayou Harvest." A gunshot split the air, Jules's body jerking, blood blooming on his shirt. Caleb dove behind a crate, Beau barking furiously, teeth bared, scanning the darkness. Another shot sparked inches from his head, and Caleb's heart roared, hands shaking as he scooped the USB, pulling Beau toward cover. "Go, boy," he gasped, sprinting through the dock's shadows, shots echoing, the bayou's hum drowned by his pulse. They reached the cruiser, Caleb's breath ragged, Beau's golden eyes fierce, but steady, harness glinting under moonlight. Caleb clutched the USB, his hazel eyes burning, the note's words, "You don't know the truth," a scream in his mind. Jules's death, the gunfire, the USB, they were tied to Clara, to LaRose, to Noah's chains. The town's whispers, Arsenault's pressure, the market's stares, they weren't just out. They were a warning, a truth Caleb had missed. His fear, sharp as a bayonet, melted into resolve forged in Clara's memory, in Beau's trust, in Eli's silent faith. The climax surged as Caleb stood by the bayou, the dock's neon fading, cypress trees swaying under a starlit sky. He clutched the USB, his badge heavy, cap pushed back, tears tracing his cheeks. Beau sat beside him, notched ear lifting, tail thumping a quiet rhythm, golden eyes a vow to protect. Caleb's pulse roared, not with panic, but with a truth breaking free that Clara's legacy, Beau's warning, and LaRose's secrets were his to unravel. He opened Bayou Whispers, fingers trembling, typing, "Jules is dead." The dock holds secrets. Who's guarding the truth? The post went live, his resolve of face to do fire, the bayou's hymn rising. The church bells tolled, Cypress whispered, and Caleb knew. This was just the beginning, with Beau leading through the dark. September's sultry haze cloaked Bayou LaRose, Louisiana. In 2025, the cypress swamps shimmering with mist, their Spanish moss trailing like whispers over the bayou's inky waters. Sugarcane fields swayed under a sky streaked with gold, Zydeco fiddles pulsing from a face-to-do across the creek, while the clabbered church's bells tolled swing low, sweet chariot, their echo weaving through the town's soul. Caleb Landry sat at a weathered table in T-Boy's cafe, his sheriff's cap pushed back, auburn hair damp, hazel eyes haunted by the weight of the USB drive clutched in his calloused hand. His khaki uniform, badge unpinned since Mayor Julian Arsenault's orders to back off, hung loose, replaced by a flannel shirt dusted with bayou clay. The Bronze Street Christopher medal, a gift from his late wife, Clara, rested heavy against his chest, a faint tether to the faith he'd lost when her car sank into these waters 3 years ago. Boudreaux, Beau, his 5-year-old German Shepherd K9, lay at his feet, black and tan coat glossy, notched ear still, golden eyes flicking to Caleb's sidearm. A sentinel after the dock ambush that had claimed Jules Fontenot's life and thrust Caleb into a trafficking mystery. Caleb's heart, scarred by Clara's death and his son Eli's silence, pounded with fear, betrayal, and a flicker of hope. The USB, stained with Jules's blood, was a Pandora's box he hadn't dared open, its secrets tied to the note. You don't know the truth, and Bo's barking at the sinking boat where they'd found Noah, a chained boy marked by burns and a 427 tattoo. The Shrimp Shack dock's gunfire still echoed in his ears. Jules's words, "It's about Clara, about Bayou Harvest," a riddle that twisted his grief into resolve. Bayou LaRosa's whispers, once warm with gumbo and zydeco, had turned sharp, sneaking through Saturday market stalls. Landry's trouble. That boy's a curse. Each rumor deepened Caleb's isolation, a stranger in his ancestral town despite moving here to raise Eli, 9, in Clara's Cajun roots. Now, in the cafe's hum of coffee and cornbread, Caleb felt the bayou's pulse shift, its secrets lurking like gators beneath the surface. T-Boy's cafe buzzed with morning life, fishers swapping tales, waitresses balancing gumbo bowls, the scent of chicory coffee thick, but Caleb was a ghost, his fear a weight heavier than his badge. He'd come to LaRose post-Atlanta, post-Clara's accident, ruled a brake failure, but shadowed by her adoption fraud research. Noah, fostered at his home, clung to Eli's drawings, his blue eyes silent, body frail from abuse. Eli, mute since Clara's death, had stayed close, his green eyes soft, sketching Noah with Bo, a bond that stirred hope. Caleb's phone buzzed, Adele's voice crackling from Baton Rouge. "Caleb, Jules's death means you're close. Trust Bo." His throat tightened, hazel eyes glistening as he glanced at Bo, whose tail thumped, a vow. Adele's words revived Clara, her late-night notepads, her warnings of big money. In LaRose, her death too convenient. Caleb had buried those doubts, but the USB was a call to unearth them, to face a truth that could drown him. Caleb plugged the USB into his laptop, heart hammering, the cafe's zydeco fading. The screen flickered, files loading, videos, timestamps, documents. His breath caught as he clicked a video, grainy footage from a dock fire 6 months ago, a blaze he patrolled but never entered. There he was, moving through smoke, pocketing a file, his badge glinting, but his memory held no trace. Another clip showed him in the station's evidence room at 3:07 a.m., slipping a vial into his pocket, his face blank, actions alien. His stomach twisted, sweat prickling, hazel eyes wide with betrayal, not of others, but of himself. "What am I?" The question echoed the note, his hands shaking as he paused the video, Bo's wine pulling him back, golden eyes steady, notched ear twitching as if sensing his unraveling. The files named Bayou Harvest Network, a trafficking ring masked as an adoption agency, using chemicals to manipulate operatives. Caleb's badge, Bo's focus, held traces of those chemicals, linked to Clara's research. She died chasing this, her car's brakes cut, not failed. His fear morphed into a raw ache, guilt for missing her warnings, for fleeing Atlanta with Eli, for thinking LaRosa's cypress shade could heal them. Bo nudged his knee, harness jingling, tail thumping, anchoring him. Caleb typed on Bayou Whispers, his blog raw. Jules died for truth. Bayou Harvest's real? Who's next? He posted, the cafe's hum distant, the bayou song a faint hymn, hope flickering through fear. Whispers grew louder, Evelyn Trahan deflecting gossip at her cafe, her cornbread cooling as she shielded Caleb. At the station, Remy LeBlanc's glances stung, his dark eyes wary, wedding ring glinting as he avoided Noah's case. Arsenault's office loomed, his cane tapping, gray eyes cold. "Drop the boy, Landry," he said, his drawl venomous. "You're off duty till this settles." Caleb nodded, his sidearm heavy, Arsenault's threat echoing the dock's gunfire, fueling defiance. Back home, Eli sketched Noah with Bo, his green eyes bright, offering the drawing. Noah clutched it, a tear falling, his silence softening. Caleb's heart swelled, hope kindled by Eli's care, but fear gnawed Clara's fate, Noah's scars, the USB's betrayal. That night, the porch creaked, the bayou's mist curling like secrets. Bo sat alert, golden eyes scanning, Notched ear twitching at a rustle. A shadow moved across the creek, and Bo growled, low and fierce, tail stiff. Caleb's hand flew to his sidearm, heart racing, the street Christopher metal cold. A text buzzed, last chance. His fear spiked, but resolve burned. Clara's memory, her green eyes, her justice afire in his chest. He needed answers, someone who knew LaRosa's shadows, like Lucien Dupre, a retired deputy in Thibodaux who'd worked with Clara, distrusting the town's elite. Caleb drove to T-Boys at dawn, Bo in the passenger seat, harness glinting, golden eyes fierce. The cafe's safety felt hollow, whispers a cage. He stopped at a shrimp shack, its dock piling slick, to check his blog. Comments flooded. We trust you, Caleb. Clara was right. Hope stirred, but a hooded figure emerged, lunging with a syringe, needle glinting. Caleb dodged, his boot slamming the figure's wrist, but Bo surged, teeth sinking into the attacker's arm, sending the syringe skittering. The figure screamed, collapsing, eyes glazing over, dead in seconds, a mystery as dark as Jules's fate. Caleb's breath ragged, he grabbed the syringe, its liquid shimmering, Bo's growl a shield against the dawn. His heart pounded, fear and betrayal swirling. Someone wanted him silenced, someone tied to Clara, to Noah. Bo's golden eyes met his, tail thumping, notched ear lifting, a vow to protect. Caleb's resolve hardened, hazel eyes burning, the metal a reminder of Clara's faith. He posted again on Bayou Whispers, they're hunting me. Bayou harvests bigger than LaRose.
The Bayou song rose, Cypress whispered, and Caleb knew he couldn't trust Arsenault, Remy, or his own memories. Lucien was his hope, his cabin a beacon. The climax roared as Eli ran onto the porch, sketchbook open, his voice a rusty whisper, breaking the dawn. Noah. Caleb froze, tears spilling, his son's first word since Clara's death, a miracle born of trust. Eli pointed to Noah, shivering inside, clutching Bo's drawing, blue eyes meeting Caleb's, a flicker of hope. Caleb knelt, hugging Eli, Bo's notched ear lifting, tail thumping, golden eyes steady. Caleb's pulse surged, not with fear, but with a truth breaking free Clara's legacy, Bo's warning, Eli's voice, Noah's trust were his to guard. He started the cruiser, hands steady, hazel eyes fixed on Thibodaux, the bayou's cypress shadows a hymn of justice, Bo leading through the mist. October's golden mist curled over Bayou LaRose, Louisiana. In 2025, the cypress swamps glowing with autumn's amber, their Spanish moss swaying like whispered prayers above the bayou's inky currents. Sugarcane fields rustled under a sky soft as a gospel hymn, Zydeco accordions humming from a face-to-do across the creek, while the clabbered church's bells told how great thou art, their echo threading through the town's beating heart. Caleb Landry stood in the attic of his clabbered house, his sheriff's cap tucked into his belt, auburn hair tousled, hazel eyes tracing dust motes dancing in slanted sunlight. His flannel shirt, sleeves rolled up, clung to his lean frame, red clay dusting his jeans, his khaki uniform abandoned since Mayor Julien Arsenault's orders to stay off duty. The Bronze Street Christopher medal, a gift from his late wife, Clara, rested heavy against his chest, its weight a faint tether to the faith he'd lost when her car plunged into the bayou 3 years ago. Boudreaux, Bo, his 5-year-old German Shepherd K9, lay at his feet, black antennae coat glossy, notched ear still, golden eyes fixed on Caleb, a steadfast guardian after the syringe attack at T-Boy's cafe that had nearly claimed his life. Caleb's heart, scarred by Clara's death and his son Eli's silence, thudded with grief, betrayal, and a fragile hope. The USB drive from Jules Fontenot's bloodied hand had unveiled Bayou Harvest Network, a trafficking ring masked as an adoption agency, using chemicals to manipulate operatives, including, impossibly, Caleb himself. Videos showed him in places he couldn't recall, dog fires,
evidence rooms, his actions foreign, his badge tainted by chemical traces Bo had detected. The syringe attack, its shimmering poison meant to silence him, had cemented the danger, the hooded figure's death a mystery as dark as Jules's murder. Caleb's calloused hands, marked by military scars, clutched a photo of Clara, her green eyes bright, her notepad scrawled with adoption data, a woman who died chasing this truth. His blog, Bayou Whispers, had sparked hope with comments, "We trust you, Caleb." But LaRose's whispers, once warm with gumbo and Zydeco, cut deeper. Landry's gone rogue. That boy's trouble. Sitting in the attic, surrounded by Clara's relics, her fishing lures, her Bible, her notes, Caleb felt the bayou's secrets closing in, a gator's jaws ready to snap. Noah, the boy they'd rescued from the sinking boat, fostered at Caleb's home, clung to Eli's drawings, his blue eyes silent, body frail from burns and a 427 tattoo. Eli, 9, mute since Clara's death, had spoken his first word, Noah, a miracle born of their bond, his green eyes bright as he sketched Bo guarding them. Caleb's phone buzzed. Adele's voice from Baton Rouge. "Caleb, Eli's talkin', means you're on the right path." Clara's watch and dot. His throat tightened, hazel eyes glistening, Bo's tail thumping once, a vow. Adele's words stirred Clara's memory, her late-night warnings of big money, in LaRose, her accident too neat, her research buried. Caleb had fled those truths to Atlanta, but the USB had dragged him back, a reckoning he couldn't outrun. The USB's files pointed to a parish hall archive tied to Clara, a clue Caleb couldn't ignore. He drove to the historic parish hall, its oak beams draped with Acadian quilts, Bo in the passenger seat, harness jingling, golden eyes fierce. LaRose stirred, fishers at the market, kids with cornbread crumbs, but whispers trailed. Landry's diggin' too deep. Noah's cursed. Each word stung, eroding the trust Caleb had sought in this Cajun town, where he'd come to raise Eli, to honor Clara's roots. At the station, Remy LeBlanc's glances hurt, his dark eyes wary, wedding ring glinting as he dodged Noah's case. Arsenault's office loomed, his cane tapping, gray eyes cold. "You're off duty, Landry," he said, his drawl venomous. "Let the boy go or you'll regret it." Caleb's sidearm felt heavy, Arsenault's threat echoing the syringe's glint, fueling defiance. The parish hall archive, a musty basement of oak shelves, smelled of mildew and secrets. Bo sniffed intently, nose leading to a locked chest labeled Landry C. Caleb's pulse raced, flashlight sweeping shadows, hands prying the chest open. Inside lay a file box, its lid carved with a cypress motif, holding Clara's notes, scribbled warnings about Bayou Harvest, redacted names, a photo of Clara with Arsenault, their faces tense, and a letter. "Guard LaRose, Caleb. The truth is bigger than us." His breath caught, tears spilling, the letter trembling in his grip. He saw Clara's hands writing, heard her voice urging justice, felt her death, not an accident, but murder. Bo whined, nudging his knee, golden eyes soft, tail thumping, as if saying, "She's here." The archive's silence hummed, the bayou's distant song a hymn, and Caleb's grief for Clara, for Eli's silence, for Noah's scars, melted into resolve to finish her fight. Adele arrived, her blonde hair loose, brown eyes bright under a cardigan, her cross necklace glinting. "Caleb, Clara knew you'd come home," she said, hugging him, voice trembling. "Share this. LaRose needs the truth." They sat on the porch, Bo dozing by the file box as Adele read the letter, tears falling. "It's her legacy, Caleb. Don't let it drown." Caleb's fear of Arsenault, of Bayou Harvest, of his own manipulated memories clashed with hope kindled by Adele's faith, by Eli's voice, by Noah's trust. Evelyn Trahan, cafe owner, organized a gumbo supper, her gray braid tucked under a sun hat, brown eyes warm. Locals gathered, fishers with cornbread, church ladies with pecan pie, sharing stories of Clara's kindness, tutoring kids, feeding strays. Their laughter softened whispers, their trust a fragile bridge, and Caleb's heart swelled, hazel eyes glistening, the street Christopher Medal a vow to protect them. Caleb posted on Bayou Whispers about the archive. Raw, Clara died for this. Bayou harvests here. Who's with me? Comments flooded. Clara was a saint. We're behind you. But one stood out. Check the Bayou warehouse. His pulse quickened. The warehouse, a place of deals, where Clara had fished, now shadowed by secrets. The supper's warmth lingered, but fear gnawed Arsenault's cane, the syringe's poison, the video's betrayal. Caleb's resolve hardened, his need to honor Clara, to trust Bo, to save Noah burning brighter than doubt. That night, Caleb and Bo crept to the warehouse, its tin roof creaking, cypress shadows looming under moonlight. Bo sniffed the rusted walls, golden eyes bright, notched ear lifting. Caleb's flashlight swept the damp floor, heart racing, hands trembling as Bo pawed at a crate, revealing a second USB taped inside, its files listing Bayou Harvest's targets, Caleb, Arsenault, others. A shadow moved, gunfire erupting, bullets sparking against tin. Bo lunged, growling, shielding Caleb as he fired, training steady despite fear. The attacker fled, leaving a dropped syringe, its liquid glinting. Caleb grabbed the USB, breath ragged, Bo's golden eyes fierce, tail thumping, a vow unbroken. The climax surged as Caleb stood by the bayou, the warehouse fading, cypress trees swaying under a harvest moon. He clutched the USBs, sidearm heavy, cap gone, tears streaming, heart a storm of grief, betrayal, and hope. Bo sat beside him, black and tan coat glowing, golden eyes steady, tail a quiet rhythm. Eli ran out, sketchbook open, voice stronger, Noah's scared. Noah followed, blue eyes wide, clutching Eli's drawing, trembling but trusting. Caleb knelt, hugging them, Bo's notched ear lifting, harness jingling, a vow eternal. His pulse roared, not with fear, but with a truth breaking free Clara's legacy, Bo's guidance, Eli's voice, Noah's trust, La Rosa's faith were his to carry. He typed on Bayou Whispers, Bayou Harvest's list is real. I'm coming for them. The post went live, resolve a Zydeco fire, the Bayou's hymn soaring. The church bells tolled, Cypress whispered, and Caleb vowed Arsenault was next, with Bo leading through the dark. November's crisp dawn broke over Bayou La Rose, Louisiana. In 2025, the cypress swamps aglow with amber mist, their Spanish moss trailing like whispered secrets above the bayou's glassy currents. Sugarcane fields shivered under a sky soft as a Cajun lullaby, Zydeco accordions fading from last night's face to do, while the clabbered church's bells tolled amazing grace, their echo weaving through the town's quiet pulse. Caleb Landry stood on the porch of his clabbered house, his sheriff's cap gone, auburn hair tousled, hazel eyes burning with grief, betrayal, and a fierce hope. His flannel shirt hung loose over jeans dusted with red clay, his khaki uniform and badge abandoned since Mayor Julian Arsenault's orders to stand down. The Bronze Street Christopher Medal, a gift from his late wife, Clara, rested warm against his chest, a rekindled tether to the faith he'd lost when her car sank into these waters 3 years ago. Boudreaux, Bo, his 5-year-old German Shepherd K9, sat beside him, black and tan coat glossy, notched ear still, golden eyes steady, a guardian whose growls had led Caleb from a burning boat to a warehouse ambush. Unearthing the Bayou Harvest Network's dark heart. Caleb's heart, scarred by Clara's murder and his son Eli's silence, pounded with a raw ache, the USB drives, one from Jules Fontenot's bloodied hand, another from the warehouse's crate, weighing like cypress roots in his pocket. They revealed Bayou Harvest, a trafficking ring cloaked as an adoption agency, using chemicals to manipulate operatives, including Caleb himself, and linked to Clara's death, her brakes cut for probing its secrets. The Parish Hall Archives file box Clara's notes, her photo with Arsenault, her letter. Guard LaRose, Caleb, had ignited his resolve. The warehouse ambushes gunfire a stark reminder of the cost. Beau's protection, Eli's first words, Noah, then more, had sparked healing, Noah's trust growing through their bond. Caleb's blog, Bayou Whispers, now viral with hashtag BayouTruth, had stirred LaRose, Evelyn Trahan's Gumbo Supper, local stories of Clara's kindness, turning whispers from doubt to fragile faith. Where with you, Landry? Caleb's attic, once a shrine to Clara's fishing lures and Bible, now held hope, her letter of vow he'd sworn to keep. He'd come to LaRose post-Atlanta, post-Clara, to raise Eli, 9, in her Cajun roots, but Bayou Harvest's shadow had nearly broken him. The Doc's gunfire, the syringe's poison, Arsenault's cane had tested his fear, but Beau's golden gaze, Adele's calls, and Eli's voice had forged his strength. Noah, 12, fostered at home, clung to Eli's sketches, his blue eyes less haunted, his 427 tattoo a scar of survival. Adele's voice echoed from Baton Rouge. Caleb, Clara's letter means you're hers. Fight. His hazel eyes glistened, Beau's tail thumping, a promise. Caleb's grief for Clara, for Eli's lost words, for Noah's pain, clashed with hope kindled by LaRose's trust, by the supper's warmth, by the boys' bond. The second USB's target list, Caleb, Arsenault, others, pointed to Arsenault as Bayou Harvest's linchpin, a truth Caleb had to face. He drove to the sheriff's station, Beau in the passenger seat, harness jingling, golden eyes fierce. LaRose stirred, fishers at the shrimp shack, kids with cornbread crumbs, but whispers lingered. Landry's crazy. Noah's bad luck. Remy LeBlanc's cautious glances at the station, his dark eyes wary, stung, but Evelyn's supper had softened the town's doubt, their trust a bridge. Caleb's badge, left at home, was a wound, his fear of losing LaRose's faith warring with his duty to Clara. Inside Arsenault's office, his broad frame loomed, silver hair slicked, gray eyes cold under his fedora, came tapping. You're done. Landry, he growled, drawl sharp. Caleb's voice was steel, hazel eyes blazing. I know Bayou Harvest. Julian. You are running it. Arsenault's face hardened, his smile icy. You're a fool, boy. Harvest keeps LaRose alive, jobs, money, stability. His admission, a Bayou Gator's snap, confirmed Caleb's betrayal not just by him, but by the town he'd sworn to protect. Caleb's fear surged, hands trembling, but Clara's letter, Guard LaRose burned in his memory, resolve a Zydeco fire against Arsenault's shadow. Leaving the office, Caleb spotted a brindle stray, Beau, shivering by the station steps, hazel eyes wary, patchy gray-brown coat matted. He knelt, offering cornbread from his pocket, heart aching as Beau's tail twitched, a soft whine mirroring Beau's trust. Beau nudged Beau, golden eyes gentle, notched ear lifting, welcoming him. Caleb's grief for Clara, for LaRose's trust, softened, Beau's hesitant trust a mirror to his own healing, a sign to keep fighting. He took Beau home, his presence a spark, a new thread in LaRose's tapestry. Back at the station, Remy, his dark eyes now curious, approached, drawn by Caleb's latest Bayou Whispers post. Harvest's list is real. I'm coming for them. Caleb, what's this? He asked, wedding ring glinting. Caleb handed the USBs. Voice low, see for yourself, Remy. Arsenault sold us out. They viewed the files, videos, target lists, Clara's notes, Remy's face paling, hands steady on the laptop. It's real, he whispered, trust a bridge rebuilt. Outside, Evelyn rallied locals, fishers, church ladies, kids, gathering at the station, lanterns glowing, voices demanding. What's Arsenault hiding? Caleb's blog, viral with hashtag BayouTruth, drew national eyes, comments flooding. Clara'd be proud. Victor and Celeste Dubois arrived, claiming Noah as their son, Nathan, with forged papers, Victor's cold blue eyes masked by charm, Celeste's icy gray eyes glinting under a chignon. Noah, in Caleb's care, saw them at the station, collapsing in terror, blue eyes wide, trembling, confirming their trafficking role. Caleb refused to release him, voice firm. He stays with me. Arsenault stormed out, eyes wild, grabbing the laptop to destroy the USBs. Caleb lunged, training sharp, blocking him as Remy restrained his cane. "It's over, Julian," Caleb said, voice a hymn of justice, hazel eyes fierce. The crowd surged, lanterns a sea of light, chants of thunder shaking the cypress. Caleb's heart swelled, fear of betrayal melting into hope. LaRose was his again, Clara's legacy alive in their faith. He posted on Bayou Whispers Arsenault's exposed. Harvests falling. For Clara. Comments roared, "We're with you." Resolve a face-to-do blaze. At home, Eli and Noah ran out, Eli's voice stronger. "Bo saved us." Noah clutched Eli's sketch, blue eyes trusting, a tear falling. Caleb knelt, hugging them, Bo's notched ear lifting, Bo's hazel eyes bright, their trust a vow. The climax surged as Caleb stood on the porch, the bayou sun rising, cypress swaying under a November moon. He clutched the USBs, metal warm, tears streaming, heart a symphony of grief, betrayal, and hope. Bo sat beside him, golden eyes steady, Bo wagging, Eli and Noah close, their family a beacon. Caleb's pulse roared, not with doubt but with truth, Clara's fight, Bo's warning, LaRose's faith were his to carry. He vowed FBI action, hands steady, hazel eyes fixed on the horizon, church bells tolling, cypress whispering, promising justice with Bo and Bo leading the way. Early December's first frost dusted Bayou LaRose, Louisiana. In 2025, the cypress swamps shimmering with silver, their Spanish moss trailing like whispered hymns above the bayou's glassy currents. Sugarcane fields stood still under a sky pale as a Cajun waltz, Zydeco fiddles silent after last night's face-to-do, while the clabbered church's bells tolled swing low, sweet chariot, their echo a gentle pulse in the town's waking heart. Caleb Landry stood on the steps of the historic parish hall, his sheriff's cap tucked into his belt, auburn hair catching the dawn, hazel eyes reflecting the lanterns strung across the square, their glow dancing like fireflies over Acadian quilts. His khaki uniform, badge gleaming, hugged his lean frame, red clay dusting his boots, a testament to his reclaimed duty. The Bronze Street Christopher Medal, a gift from his late wife, Clara, rested warm against his chest, a beacon of faith rekindled in LaRose's embrace. Boudreaux, Bo, his 5-year-old German Shepherd K9, sat at his side, black and tan coat glossy, notched ear still, golden eye steady, a guardian whose barks had led from a burning boat to justice. Bo, the brindle stray adopted days ago, wagged his thin tail nearby, hazel eyes bright under a red-tagged collar, his trust a new light in Caleb's world. Caleb's heart, once scarred by Clara's murder and his son Eli's silence, swelled with relief, gratitude, and purpose. The confrontation with Mayor Julian Arsenault had shattered the Bayou Harvest Network's grip. His admission, Harvest keeps LaRose alive, a betrayal that fueled Caleb's resolve. The USB drives, one stained with Jules Fontenot's blood, another from the warehouse ambush, had exposed a trafficking ring cloaked as an adoption agency linked to Clara's death, her breaks cut for her research. The Parish Hall Archives file box, Clara's letter, guard LaRose, Caleb, had guided him through gunfire and syringes, Bo's protection a shield. Bo's trust, mirroring Bo's, had sparked healing, Eli's voice, first Noah, now stronger, mending Caleb's grief. Noah, 12, revealed as Clara's nephew, clung to Eli's sketches, his blue eyes softening, 427 tattoo of fading scar. Caleb's blog, Bayou Whispers, viral with #BayouTruth, had rallied LaRose, Evelyn Trahan's gumbo supper, locals' lanterns, turning whispers into a chorus. Clara'd be proud. Caleb's attic, once a shrine to Clara's fishing lures, now held hope, her letter of vow fulfilled. He'd come to Larose post-Atlanta, post-Clara, to raise Eli, 9, in her Cajun roots, but Harvest's shadow had nearly drowned him. Beau Sparks' Arsenault's Cane, Victor and Celeste Dubois's forged claims for Noah had tested his fear, but Eli's voice, Noah's trust, and Larose's faith had forged his strength. The FBI's investigation, sparked by the USBs, had swept through Larose like a cleansing tide. Arsenault and Victor were arrested, their gold watch and suits glinting as they were led away, their drawls silenced. Celeste Dubois had vanished, a shadow uncaught, but the station buzzed with relief, Remy LeBlanc's dark eyes warm, wedding ring steady as he clapped Caleb's shoulder. Evelyn's cafe overflowed with cornbread and chatter, locals sharing Clara's stories, tutoring kids, feeding strays, their trust a bridge rebuilt. Caleb's post, Harvests Falling, for Clara, had drawn millions, #BayouTruth trending globally, comments flooding, justice for Larose. Caleb organized a candlelit vigil at the parish hall to honor Clara and thank Larose. The square transformed with lanterns on cypress branches, tables laden with gumbo, pecan pie, and sweet tea. The Zydeco band played Jolie Blonde, banjos strumming a low-country rhythm. Caleb's heart swelled, fear of betrayal, by Arsenault, by Harvest, by his own memories, melting into gratitude for Beau's warnings, Beau's trust, and the town's embrace. Evelyn bustled, gray braids swinging, brown eyes bright, directing volunteers. Adele arrived, cross necklace glinting, smile wide, hugging Caleb. Locals gathered, fishers in flannel, church ladies in shawls, kids with chalk signs, for Clara. Their faces glowing under lantern light, chatter a hymn of belonging. Strangers from New Orleans, drawn by #BayouTruth, joined, their comments echoing, "This is what truth builds." Caleb stepped onto a platform, badge glinting, hazel eyes shining, voice steady. Beau and Clara lit our path to justice. Larose, you're my home, my strength. Beau sat beside him, notched ear lifting, tail thumping, Beau wagging nearby, their trust a testament. The crowd roared, standing, clapping, cheers of thunder shaking the cypress, lanterns swaying like stars. Evelyn raised a cornbread basket. Adele's eyes welled. Locals sang Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, voices a river of hope. Noah, beside Eli, whispered his real name, Noah Thibodeau, and Clara's relation, tears falling, blue eyes finding family. Eli, voice clear, said, "He's ours," green eyes bright, sketchbook open to Beau and Beau. Caleb's heart pounded, gratitude a Zydeco blaze. The bayou sung a hymn of triumph. A YouTube video, uploaded anonymously, captured the vigil, its narrator's drawl warm. In Larose, a sheriff and his dog unveiled a truth that saved a town. Sheriff Truth lights your way. Comment, amen, and subscribe. It soared, #BayouTruth trending globally, comments flooding. Amen, Caleb. Clara lives. The video sparked trafficking probes nationwide, Harvest's tendrils unraveling. Caleb posted on Bayou Whispers, Beau brought us truth. Larose endures. Comments, you're our hero. We're a bomb, his purpose clear, to protect his town, honor Clara, nurture Noah's trust. At home, Caleb trained Beau, his hazel eyes bold, brindle coat gleaming. Beau rested beside Eli, golden eyes soft, notched ear twitching, strength a quiet anchor. Noah sketched with Eli, their laughter a new Zydeco, blue and green eyes bright. Caleb walked the bayou's banks, cypress swaying, church bells tolling, hearts full of Clara's letter, her laughter, his reclaimed light. Larose was his, its cypress roots his own, its hymns his strength. The climax surged as Caleb stood at the vigil's close, the parish square aglow, cypress whispering under a December moon. He clutched Clara's letter, hazel eyes radiant, tears streaming, heart a symphony of relief, gratitude, and purpose. Bo sat beside him, black and tan coat shining, golden eyes steady, Bo's hazel eyes bright, Eli and Noah close, their trust a vow eternal. Caleb lit a lantern, its glow joining thousands, the crowd singing when the saints go marching in, voices a chorus of forever. His pulse roared, badge a beacon, resolve a face to do fire, that Clara's legacy, Bo's courage, Noah's truth, La Rosa's faith would endure. The church bells tolled, Cypress danced, and Caleb knew, with Bo and Bo at his side, the bayou's whispers were now hymns of justice, singing them home. Christmas Eve's twilight cloaked Bayou La Rose, Louisiana. In 2025, the cypress swamps shimmering with frost, their Spanish moss trailing like silver hymns above the bayou's glassy currents. Sugarcane fields stood silent under a sky thick with stars, Zydeco fiddles hushed after a face-to-do, while the clabbered church's bells tolled silent night, their echo a tender pulse in the town's quiet heart. Caleb Landry stood on his porch, auburn hair catching the moonlight, hazel eyes reflecting the lanterns strung across his clapboard house, their glow dancing like fireflies over Acadian quilts. His sheriff's badge gleamed on his khaki uniform, reclaimed after months of doubt, its weight a testament to his triumph. The Bronze Street Christopher Medal, a gift from his late wife, Clara, rested warm against his chest, a beacon of faith reborn in La Rosa's embrace. Boudreaux, Bo, his 5-year-old German Shepherd K9, sat beside him, black and tan coat faded with age, notched ear still, golden eyes dim but steady, a guardian whose barks had led from a burning boat to justice. Bo, the brindle stray adopted weeks ago, wagged his thin tail, hazel eyes bright under a red-tagged collar, his trust a new light in Caleb's world. Caleb's heart, once shattered by Clara's murder and his son Eli's silence, swelled with grief, gratitude, and purpose. The vigil at the parish hall had sealed the Bayou Harvest Network's fall, Mayor Julian Arsenault and Victor Dubois arrested. Their betrayal, Harvest Keeps La Rose Alive, laid bare. The USB drives, stained with Jules Fontenot's blood and warehouse grit, had exposed a trafficking ring linked to Clara's death, her brakes cut for her adoption fraud research. Clara's letter, Guard La Rose, Caleb, had guided him through gunfire, syringes, and Celeste Dubois's escape, Bo's protection a shield. Bo's trust, Eli's voice, first Noah, now a stream, had healed wounds. Noah, 12, Clara's nephew, finding family, his 427 tattoo of fading scar. Caleb's blog, Bayou Whispers, viral with hashtag BayouTruth, had rallied La Rose, Evelyn Trahan's gumbo, locals' lanterns, turning whispers into a global cry, justice for Clara. Caleb's attic, once Clara's shrine, now held hope, her fishing lures, Bible, a photo of her green eyes bright, her letter of vow fulfilled. He'd come to La Rose post-Atlanta, post-Clara, to raise Eli, 9, in her Cajun roots, but Harvest's shadow had nearly drowned him. Bo's barks, Arsenault's cane, the Dubois forged claims had tested his fear, but Eli's voice, Noah's trust, and La Rosa's faith had forged his resolve. The FBI's sweep, sparked by the USBs, had uprooted Harvest, saving 19 children, though Celeste remained a ghost. Remy LeBlanc's dark eyes now shone with pride, Evelyn's cafe buzzed with cornbread and chatter, locals weaving Clara's stories, tutoring kids, feeding strays into La Rosa's soul. Caleb's post, Bo brought us truth, had reached millions, hashtag BayouTruth a beacon, comments echoing, Amen, La Rose. That evening, Bo stirred, harness jingling, golden eyes fixed on a bayou cypress where Caleb had fished with Clara, her laughter a Zydeco hum. Caleb's heart tightened, sensing Bo's call, his steps slower, breaths heavier, a shadow he'd feared since the warehouse. He draped Clara's quilt over his shoulders, grabbed a lantern, and followed, Bo trotting beside, Brindle coat glinting, hazel eyes curious. Eli and Noah, sketching inside, watched, green and blue eyes bright. The cypress loomed, moss swaying, the bayou psalm a lullaby under stars. Bo paused, notched ear lifting, tail thumping once, golden eyes meeting Caleb's, soft but certain. Caleb knelt, hands trembling, lantern casting gold over Bo's fading coat. "You brought us home, boy," he whispered, voice breaking, tears streaming. Bo whined, nudging his hand, breath slowing, spirit slipping into the night, peaceful under the cypress's watch. The silence was sacred, church bells still, frosted gentle shroud. Caleb buried Bo by the cypress, hands digging cold clay, lantern flickering. He placed Bo's badge tag, a photo of them, a syringe emptied of poison, and a letter. "You saved us, Bo." Bo sat vigil, hazel eyes mournful, Brindle for brushing Caleb's arm, a new guardian. Caleb smoothed the earth, tears falling, heart full not of loss, but of love eternal. Eli and Noah joined, Eli's voice clear. "Bo's a hero." Noah nodded, blue eyes wet, clutching Eli's sketch of Bo. The parish hall square glowed that night, transformed for a second vigil to honor Bo and Clara. Caleb stood before lanterns, locals gathered, Evelyn in her sun hat, Remy in uniform, Adele with her cross glinting, Fishers, church ladies, kids with signs, Bo's Truth. The Zydeco band played Jolie Blonde, voices soaring. Caleb's badge gleamed, hazel eyes shining, voice steady, Bo's Truth finds us. "He led me to Clara, to Noah, to you. LaRose is ours to guard." Bo wagged, Eli spoke, for Bo. Noah added, for family, their sketches raised. The crowd roared, clapping, cheers of thunder shaking the cypress, lanterns swaying like stars. Evelyn raised gumbo bowls, Adele hugged Caleb, locals wept, voices a river of hope. Caleb posted a final Bayou Whispers entry. Bo's gone, but his light endures. For LaRose. Comments flooded, "Amen, Bo." Clara lives. From locals to strangers, weaving a tapestry of truth. A YouTube video, narrated in a Cajun drawl, captured the journey boat to vigil, betrayal to justice, ending. Sheriff Truth guides you home. Comment, "Amen," and subscribe. It reached millions. Hashtag Bayou Truth, a global cry. Comments echoing, "Amen, LaRose." Caleb stood under the cypress, Bo's fur warm, parish hall aglow, Clara's letter in his heart. His fear of harvest's shadow was gone. Gratitude for Bo, the town a Zydeco blaze eternal. The climax surged as Caleb lit a final lantern, its glow joining thousands, cypress swaying under a Christmas moon. He clutched the letter, hazel eyes radiant, tears streaming, heart a symphony of grief, gratitude, and purpose. Bo wagged, Eli and Noah laughed, sketching stars. The crowd sang when the saints go marching in, voices a chorus of forever. Caleb's pulse roared, badge of vow, resolve of face-to-do fire. Clara's legacy, Bo's courage, Noah's truth, LaRose's faith would shine eternal. The church bells tolled, cypress danced, and Bo's legacy burned, a bayou whisper now a hymn, guiding them home forever.